Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. Bitcoin is currently breaking into new all-time highs for the first time inside of this bull run, and we have talked extensively about what this means for altcoins moving forward into this cycle. Every single bull market, whenever Bitcoin enters price discovery, we always see the biggest explosion inside of our altcoin profits for the entire bull run. Today, I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite tokens that I'm watching, why they're so important to be watching and tracking with what happens with Bitcoin moving forward from here, and how we can all be positioned and ready to make a ton of profit over these next 3 months, because I'm telling you guys right now, this is where the life-changing gains are really made in this bull market. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you find any value in this video, please do me a favor, hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. And without further ado, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, jumping into the price of Bitcoin, we are currently into a new all-time high, and the reason I call this the first new all-time high, even though we technically did make a new one at the beginning of this year, is because this is the first true breakout that we've seen into price discovery. Considering these weren't true breakouts, we had always been getting stuffed back below these prior all-time high levels, and it really just wasn't until recently with Trump winning the election that we saw Bitcoin break out, catch a bit on top of this prior resistance and the all-time high, and that was really where the market started to pick up. You guys know, if you've watched my videos, that we've been calling for 100K per Bitcoin on this next breakout, and we're currently sitting at about 84.5. Now don't get me wrong, we can always see little pullbacks along the way, and I think that that's to be expected, but with Bitcoin finally breaking out of this really lengthy consolidation, we would expect to see a pretty big markup in price, because that's generally the way Bitcoin behaves when it breaks out of a long-term consolidation. You know, when Bitcoin corrected inside of this correction in our last bull market, from the total time that it spent for us to break out was just under 500 days. Now, if we're coming over here and looking at relatively the same, it's not going to be quite as long, but it's still a lengthy consolidation. You know, looking at 240 days approximately, that's a pretty sizable consolidation. And for Bitcoin to run to 100K, it's always made a little bit more sense to me. Now, here's the thing that we need to remember, guys. With Bitcoin making a move to new all-time highs, going into price discovery, this is what I've always stated is the point where the altcoins make the biggest run. And what I wanted to make you guys be really aware about in the short term is talking a little bit more about the Bitcoin dominance, because this is going to be the moment where we see that rotation take place into the altcoins. What we've been watching up to this point is the fact that Bitcoin has just been trending higher highs and higher lows alongst this entire uptrend, and we've rallied all the way back up near 60% dominance. In fact, we did actually peak at that level. So with watching Bitcoin, you know, we did see this short-term bearish engulfing candle, so we're going to see how this develops from here. But if this rejects bearish, we fall back to this trend line and we actually see Bitcoin lose this trend, I do believe that that's where we're going to set in some type of a reversal. So we need to be paying attention for watching for when that reversal is going to be taking place. I think it's going to be shifting around when this trend line officially breaks. Now, here's the great thing about this cycle, guys, and this is the thing I want you guys to be very aware about. The higher the Bitcoin dominance rises, the more profit that there can actually be in the altcoin rotation. And the reason I say that is because we have two different prior cycles to be looking at, and what I can say is in 2017, when Bitcoin dominance was sitting at 97%, you know, there was only a 3% dominance in the altcoins. That changed as Bitcoin dominance made this massive correction in 2017 and ultimately bottomed at 35.5%. That was the reason why 2017 was so much bigger than any of the other cycles. Now, if we're looking at our last cycle, we made good profit on some altcoins, but it was a lot more niche and narrative driven than anything in 2017. You could wake up and just buy a coin up 300% on the daily, and it would be, you know, up a few 100% the next day when you woke up again. And that was what 2017 was like. In our last cycle, it was not like that nearly as much. What we're seeing right now with the dominance, we made a much smaller move from the peak, coming here at 73.5%, and then we never even retested the very low of that bottom that we saw in 2017. So we've been in this long-term consolidation. The fact that Bitcoin dominance is all the way back up here near that 60% level, it means that if Bitcoin dominance were to reject up here somewhere, make a big correction, we'd be looking at falling all the way back down to this support level that we held when Bitcoin first started to peak at the cycle top of our last bull run. Now, when we made this big run, Bitcoin's been outperforming all of the altcoins the whole way, even going into new all-time highs, which we've talked a lot about. Bitcoin did the same thing in the last bull market as well. But whenever this trend shifts, we're looking at a big drop in this Bitcoin dominance. And it would be very similar in size as the last cycle. You know, we would have our last cycle in one drop, That would take place here. And if Bitcoin dominance was to actually break down and go into a new all-time low for the first time since that 2018 cycle, that's where probably we'd see the biggest altcoin season of all time. I don't know if that's for sure going to happen, but that's what I've always believed was going to happen. And I do believe that we're seeing that in the way that the meme coins are generating a lot of profit. Almost all of the volumes on exchanges are taking place inside of meme coins. And that's just something that we have to be aware of. When we're getting to this point in crypto adoption, we have to be aware that this is the euphoria stage. And that's why I say that the next bear market coming is going to be really volatile. So we basically have this cycle to make as much money as we possibly can on these altcoins. And the one altcoin that I've talked extensively about has always been Dogecoin. And the reason I talk so much about Dogecoin is because this is always our altcoin season indicator. And when we're looking at Dogecoin, every time Bitcoin ever makes a new all-time high, it's right where these green boxes are. That's Bitcoin's all-time high, and this is where Dogecoin's at. So when we're looking at Dogecoin today, we've already broken back out into this range high. We're rallying all the way back up to this 35-cent region. This is going to be our first major resistance on this chart. And we could see a short-term pullback at this level for Doge. Don't be surprised about that. But if it is, it'd just be a pullback. Maybe we retest this prior high we broke from. And this thing's definitely just going to be ripping into a new all-time high from there in a very similar way that it did in the last cycle. We saw a lot of the same parallels where Dogecoin started to reverse. It broke all the way up here, flipped that major resistance level in its bear market as new support, and then that was where we saw all of the new all-time high upside taking place in the Dogecoin chart. Relatively the same even in the 2017 cycle. Bitcoin makes that new all-time high, Dogecoin flips its major resistance levels of its bear market, and then that's where it goes into that bigger push into price discovery. So a lot of the same parallels. The reason I've always talked about Dogecoin is because this always shifts and tells us when that Bitcoin dominance is going to be shifting, because Dogecoin doesn't really run until Bitcoin is officially to the point where all the whales are taking their profit. They're looking to rotate into the altcoins. And we always see that happen when Bitcoin goes into price discovery. So seeing Dogecoin starting this breakout, it's really at the exact same time frames as our last cycle. We're currently sitting here mid-November. And if we're looking at where Dogecoin peaked at in that first move in its last cycle, it was like the end of December. So we're right there at the exact same time frames. Nothing's different. And I think that this should be the big opening statement to everybody that, hey, if Dogecoin is breaking out currently, this is setting the stage for the rest of the altcoins that we hold. The next one I want to talk about is Shiba Inu. Now, obviously, Shiba is a little bit behind when we're looking at Dogecoin. Dogecoin's already broken all the way up here. It's made this big move, cleared above the range highs of that last rally that we had at the beginning of this year. And what we're seeing over here with Shiba is it's just lagging a little bit. This is what we're going to see the way that these altcoins rotate. Some of the charts are going to be similar. The ones that are dominated by the same whales, the same investors, they're going to follow the same sort of price charts. And they're a lot more synced in liquidity than some of the other altcoins. So when we're looking at this, Shiba is more of a catch-up play, a contrarian play to Doge if you didn't get into that one. As this one's still sitting below these range highs, it could still pull back with Doge right in here. Could see a pullback in here. But this thing is eventually going to be breaking out and going into a new all-time high. It will just lag behind Doge. As Doge is making its big move, it will do very similarly to what we just saw with Bitcoin. As we've waited for Bitcoin to go into this new all-time high, altcoins haven't really done a heck of a lot. And that's going to be the way that a lot of these dog coins and meme coins in general are going to consolidate. We're going to see the main meme Doge, that's always been the staple of meme coins. It's going to take off first. We're going to see the next biggest in line start to catch up along the way as they make their big blow-off tops as well. And you guys got to be aware that if we're already seeing so much volume in these meme coins, and now the biggest meme coins in crypto are finally ready to make their next big cycles, I do believe that we're not nearly to the point of seeing these meme coins over. It's only going to get crazier from here. And so we shouldn't be shunning these things. There's still so much upside and opportunity. This cycle, more so than ever before, is dominated by speculation. Even in 2017, it was similar where you could kind of just buy anything and it would go up. This cycle is dominated by specific narratives in the meme coins, in AI. Those are really the two sectors that we've seen outperform everything up to this point. There will be a point where I do believe the other things start to take off as well, but we're looking at meme coins dominating so much volume, and I think that that's going to be something that plays out as we rally into this first new all-time high for Bitcoin in the same ways that we have in those prior cycles. We always see that big wave of retail money come in with Bitcoin as it makes that first big breakout, and with meme coins already leading up to this point, it makes sense that retail is going to continue to consolidate a lot of capital into these type of plays. So when I'm looking at Shiba, it has made its first little move, but if we get any sort of dip in here, like what I've drawn, I think that that would be a great opportunity to long that. If you were able to buy back down at this prior high that we just broke from, and we make a move all the way to those all-time highs, you're looking at a 4x move all in one go. And if you were using low leverage longs, you know, the higher the market cap with these bigger meme coins, the profit potential is a little bit smaller. So these are the type of things that I like to use low leverage longs on. You can position yourself in low leverage longs anywhere from a 1.5x to like a 5x tops. And really I would stay in 1.5 to 3x just to be safe, considering most people don't really know how to trade that well. But at this point in the cycle, as we've made our first higher highs and we're just starting to break from those, this is really where we see a lot of these markets start to pick up. And so getting a low leverage long with a few $100 or $500, whatever it is, you know, in the last cycle, I did that with Chainlink and I did it with Cardano, and I made a lot of money off of a $500 play. You know, $500 is whatever. A lot of us will spend that speculating on some meme coin. That's something that has a lot more of a likelihood of making consistent gains this cycle. Even though the ROI will be a little bit smaller, we can make up for that and risk a small amount of capital to actually get that big gain just by playing really small leverage. You don't have to overdo it. Most people just overdo it, and that's why they lose money. Coming over here, the next one we're talking about is going to be Dogwifhat. When we're looking at this, I was watching this because we broke from this downtrending resistance, and if you guys know, I've been talking about this since we were all the way back over in this bottom formation. This is the biggest dog coin on the Solana chain, and with Solana outperforming up to this point, I do believe that this is going to continue to do a lot of the same type of moves. Now looking at this, it's already broken from this prior range high. We're broken past our wave 5. We corrected in this ABC, broke from that. So even if we see a pullback, it would just probably come back down to like $2.73, retest these highs before this thing catches a bid and really starts to run upwards of $4 and really running all the way to those prior all-time highs. We're seeing all of these starting to break out, breaking out of this downtrending resistance in a perfect one-wave rise. I think that the next part's going to get pretty parabolic as we do make that run all the way upwards of $8 to $10. That's where our primary target for the 1618 is going to be. And keep in mind, guys, that I do believe it's going to go way higher than that, which is why I say that this portion of the cycle, we're looking at all of 2025 being very bullish. Trump won the election. Bitcoin started breaking out. He's going to be, you know, bringing in a lot of people that are pro-crypto in general. So we're going to have a lot of catalysts for a lot of price appreciation. And so for that, we have to be aware that these things are just going to run and they're going to blow past all of our targets that we might have. And so that's why I say getting some low leverage longs in some of these, playing the trend for this year, taking profit sometime in the fall of this year just to play it safe. I really think that you're going to look back on a $200 to a $500 play, maybe even less than that, depending on who you are. And you could be sitting at tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially maybe even $1 million if we're looking at these things getting really blown out of proportion. You know, I'm not saying that that's the likelihood scenario, but I think that for me, I've turned $500 into $100,000 multiple times, and I've done it 2 different times with low leverage long. So I know that it works. It's just that you have to be, you know, doing your part by holding the trade, not getting too overconfident, using high leverage and getting wrecked. You know, it's just, you got to play with that low leverage to make it actually consistent over the long-term game. Looking at these, having these major trend shifts, if we're looking at Solana making its breakout, Solana's going to be running into a new all-time high. So we have to be aware that if Solana and its entire chain is going into a new all-time high, there's going to be a ton of new liquidity. Memes are going to be blowing up. There's going to be a ton of different opportunities, but we're really seeing it consolidate in the meme coin sector. So if you're somebody that's just a hater on the meme coins, you're going to miss out on a lot of money because it's more or less just free money at this point. The last one we want to talk about today is going to be Floki. Floki is one that's probably going to be catching up the most. I love this setup. It looks like a massive cup and handle formation right before we go super parabolic. And we're looking at this thing, and it probably corrected right back down to the 618 support, which is kind of what you want to see. Yeah, right around that 618 that we found support. It even kind of bottomed in between that and the 786. But a perfect setup when we're looking at a cup and handle formation. If you guys don't know or aren't familiar with cup and handles, these have been some of the most profitable setups I've ever traded. Dash was one that did this exact setup, where you have its first run up. That's this cycle here. And then you come into this first little run as Bitcoin's making new all-time highs. It retests that prior high right here. And then we see this little handle that comes down in here. Comes down, retests the mid-range of that cycle. And what we see shortly after is this type of price action. very, very, very parabolic type of price action. And I do believe that that's what's coming for Floki as a whole. Now, it's got $1.2 billion in market cap, so I don't think it's going to go quite that parabolic as far as ROI goes. But a low leverage long in these low prices, I really don't think that you can go wrong. I really, truly don't think you can. You know, all of these have more or less just flipped their first major resistance levels, and they're currently just starting to even go into another breakout past that. So Floki is really primed for a massive move, in my opinion. It doesn't really get better than this on a long-term basis. Long accumulation, big, you know, cup and handles are some of the most bullish and parabolic chart patterns that exist. So seeing that, retesting this prior resistance as new support at the very bottom of this handle, I'm telling you guys that this thing's going to run. It's going to break out, and we're going to see this thing super moon into a new all-time high. So these are the tokens I wanted to share with you, because what we're seeing right now is that shifting point. We're looking at Bitcoin dominance whenever this rejects and falls. This could be the biggest cycle that we've ever seen with these altcoins. And so we want to have our positions now. We want to be playing the hot narratives that are going to be generating us the most profit. If you haven't invested some money into meme coins, you're really missing out. You're really doing yourself a disservice, because the market's already shown us that this is where a lot of value is going to be located. We're really just missing out on a lot of free money opportunities when we're talking about Bitcoin going into this next breakout. So here are a few that are the high cap plays. I'm going to make more videos talking about some of my lower cap plays that I'm watching right now, but these are ones that are primed for low leverage longs, ones that I think are going to be generating a significant amount of profit very soon. And if there's any dip that happens over the next week, look to be longing any of those dips, because I have a lot of confidence these things are going to be taking off very soon. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you found value in this video, please do me a favor, hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. And if you guys do want to see anything I'm investing in long term, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. From there, you guys are going to be able to see every altcoin I'm buying. I've been posting a ton of new signals, a lot of low cap memes on multiple different chains. So if you guys do want to be able to follow those, we've been generating a lot of profit, and it'd be fun to have you guys aboard, especially as Bitcoin's going into this new all-time high. So check it out. Links are in the description. And without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.